So the world doesn't go into an office and stay in that office from 9 o'clock till 6 o'clock and the same office. The world works in lots of places. It moves around. We now have a man who can help explain how you can relocate, how you connect workforces in different countries. From Deel, welcome Dan Westgarth.
Thank you. Good to be here.
So for those who don't know Deel, where you've been working for 4 years, it's a super fast growth company. Explain how you help build cross-border workforces.
Yeah, we have developed an infrastructure layer. So the way I think about it is, what does a company need to employ people? And it starts with an entity, a legal structure that is recognized by the government and can be used to register, file, and remit taxes, social security, healthcare contributions. Those are some of many things. And at Deel, we've set up entities in over 100 different countries, and we've developed a service or a product that we have named Employer of Record. And we do that in over 100 different countries around the world through our own entities, through our own infrastructure. So if a company wants to hire somebody in a different country than where they are present, and where they have an entity, they can do so through our infrastructure.
And why does this matter? Which trend lines are you responding to?
I think we saw trends happen during the pandemic. We saw many businesses adapt very quickly to lockdown procedures, and we saw businesses subsequently adopt a remote model and, in fact, a cross-border model. So rather than saying, okay, we have to be in lockdown, everybody within 50-mile radius of our office must work from their home, we're actually going to use this precedent to hire people outside that 50-mile radius. And maybe it would start on a multinational model. Maybe it was companies in London hiring in Wales or Scotland or Newcastle, where I'm from. And the next step in that process was companies thinking, well, wait a minute, if I can hire somebody in Scotland, maybe I can hire somebody in Brazil. And that work from home trend and globalization trend was really a kind of leading indicator of opportunity. And we built a product that took hold of that opportunity.
And the starting point is there is talent everywhere.
Yes.
Not just in your part of town.
Correct.
How should people here be thinking about growing their teams if, in theory, they could hire people in Tallinn, Estonia, and Tokyo, and Togo?
Yeah, I mean, we say to our clients, focus on the skills rather than the location. And if you rewind a decade or half a decade, people and businesses really would focus on the location over the skills. So it's a real fundamental flip in mindset. And no longer do I need to go and hire people in New York City to access the east coast of the US. I can very easily hire somebody in South Dakota. And we've seen that happen in this region as well. You know, typically, we would have multinational companies, perhaps in the UAE, hiring in the Emirates, hiring in Abu Dhabi, maybe they're hiring in Iraq, but we're now seeing companies hire across the region, across MENA, and now the world, which is really refreshing and exciting.
But doesn't it make it impossible to build a consistent company culture if you don't know where your next recruits are going to be physically?
I think it's harder to build company culture this way. I think one of the things that we've learned in culture building is that if you're remote first, it's easier than working on a hybrid model. When working on a hybrid model, there is some bias towards the people that are in office, and particular in headquarters. However, this is nothing new. If you're working for Nike, the sportswear company, and you're working in the headquarters, it's very different to working in the South African branch. So this concept has been around for decades and possibly even centuries. So I don't think there's anything new there.
And you're innovating. There's lots of stages here where people are talking about crypto, but Deel is one of the early companies that's using cryptocurrency in its daily performance. Explain a bit about how you're thinking and how you're using cryptocurrencies.
Yeah, our customers, in particular the remote workers, have always demanded a cryptocurrency method of getting paid. And we decided to build it, and we've seen really 3 different use cases and buckets. The first bucket is people that live in fairly exotic parts of the world where the banking system is particularly antiquated. For example, the Caribbean. Settling a salary into a bank in the Bahamas or Jamaica might take 5 days, and the bank might charge that remote worker a fee for receiving their salary, which seems madness to you and I, given we're from the UK. So the first bucket of customers are those getting paid into these exotic countries near instantly. Crypto is settling instantly, and there's a very, very low fee, sometimes no fee at all. That's a really cool use case for us of crypto. The second case is those countries that are seeing high double-digit annual inflation. Argentina, Turkey, as an example. These individuals are choosing to get paid in crypto. Perhaps they're using US dollar-backed stablecoins, and they're able to invest those US-backed stablecoins and earn a yield on them. Let's say they're earning a short-term treasury yield of around 5%. In addition to that, they're also able to hold their earnings in dollars, which is appreciating against the local currency. So that is a real life-changing use case for those individuals. And the final one is the kind of Bitcoin believers and Bitcoin investors. We see that these people, they want to get paid into crypto, and probably not the whole salary, it's probably a small portion, and they're using that money as an investment instrument.
But is there also another use case in that some people think they can avoid paying employment tax if they get paid in crypto?
So crypto is only available for contractors on the Deel platform, and we help the contractors raise their invoices against the companies and register with the relevant labor authorities where they're working from. So employment taxes aren't a concept in B2B contracting, so it's not really relevant.
So it's not a shortcut to avoiding tax?
No.
Because you are quite heavily regulated in the different markets you operate in.
Extremely heavily regulated, and one of the concepts that we're working on right now, which really kind of speaks to innovation, is offering different fiat currencies on employment contracts. So here we're not talking about B2B contractor invoicing, we're talking about traditional employment where there is a pay slip, an end-of-year tax document, a series of protections for the employee, automatic tax withholding and remittance. So we're looking at the various components of that employment process and seeing how we could interchange the different currencies. So maybe, as an example, we could have an individual in Poland earning against a Polish zloty contract, but actually receiving their salary in euros. Now, how do we do that? Are we remitting the taxes and reporting the taxes to the Polish authority in zlotys or euros? And when you dive into the regulation and the law of the different countries that we're looking at, there's not that much there. No one has really thought about this. And I think in this economic period that we're in, where rates are rising, and in some cases inflation is still rising, the currency that people are paid in really matters.
One of the strengths of the UAE, and we met the Minister for AI earlier today, is that they're really consciously attracting foreign talent to build here. And so geography changes our understanding of where you should physically be. People are moving to where there's opportunities. Do you see a way for certain low-paid economies to attract more talent because they create incentives, whether it's fiscal incentives or lifestyle incentives, to get people coming from elsewhere to work remotely, even if it's for a big conventional organization?
Yes, I think the requirement for that to happen is the Labour Authority, the Finance Authority, and the Immigration Authority have to be very much aligned and in sync. And in the UAE, I think the government has figured it out perfectly. There is a very good and nice path to relocating here and securing a job here and getting paid here. We've seen other countries that have perhaps offered an immigration incentive that made it very easy to move to that country and be legal to work in that country. But then the other stuff doesn't align. The tax regime is really tough, or the bank account opening process is really tough. Bringing your family with you is really tough. You know, getting alignment between the different authorities is where the kind of secret sauce is.
So which countries seem to be getting it right if they're going to make the most of this arbitrage of talent opportunity?
You know, I wouldn't call it an irony, but my father might call it an irony as a British farmer, because his view on the British government, it is not run very efficiently at the moment. But I think the UK actually has a pretty good process in place and has done for many years. It's relatively easy for a business to register and get the relevant licenses to bring people to the UK, and it's relatively easy for the worker to go through the process and qualify and make the move.
So based on your hot seat at Deel, based on what you're seeing in the real economy and the trends for companies to universalize, to build teams irrespective of geography, where do you think this heads? Where do we go 1, 2, 5 years from now? What do we need to understand as the future organization?
Yeah, well, we talked about the legal infrastructure, we talked about financial instruments and currency, and we talked about regulation. I think the final point that I would bring up and kind of like speak to is data. Because HR systems have been so fragmented between different countries and different regions, it's been incredibly hard for companies to take a global view on their HR data. And let me give you some examples. Excuse me. For example, engagement data. If people are in different offices, in different time zones, there's different cultures, how can we make sure that everybody is working to a similar level? Well, by looking at engagement data, that's possible. You can see when people are working, what people are doing, and you can look for signs of disengagement. And in the office model, it's very easy to see somebody disengaged. They're probably doing no work, and you can see it as a manager with your eyes. But on the remote model, it's much harder. So looking at a combination of performance against objectives, communication data, other engagement statistics, we're able to actually say, well, this person is starting to disengage. Let's speak with them. Why are they disengaging? They probably don't like the work, or maybe they don't like their boss, or maybe there's something else going on in their life. And then how can we assist them and help them and get them back on track?
So it looks like we're not going back into the office Monday to Friday. It looks like the change of behavior that started during the lockdowns is not going to go away.
I think it's a very contentious topic right now, especially in the US. I think the UK has seemed to return to office pretty quickly, and it's working quite well. In the US, people take much larger commutes, and I personally think it's a very easy and quite brash move for a CEO to mandate the team to return to office. I think the harder, more complex, and more efficient way to do it is to come up with a hybrid policy that works. And there are certain individuals that thrive in an office environment, and they should be given that privilege of the office. And there are individuals that thrive in a remote environment. And it's about balancing that within your workforce. I've seen some, quite frank, horror stories where businesses in the US in particular have mandated people back to office. They've incentivized it so heavily with snacks, meals, paid commutes, buses, everything you could even dream and imagine. And the employees are there, and they have no respect for it. And it creates a very bad culture and almost moral outcome. So I think it's really contentious and quite hard to get right.
One thing we like to do on the Expand North Star stage is give people an actionable takeaway. One tip for people in the room as they go away from here, back to their organizations, based on what you're seeing about how the most efficient companies are working. One piece of advice.
Everyone here is in business and will be hiring somebody either directly or indirectly to join their business. I think the one thing you should take away is, if you haven't already, open up a global talent pool. That person can be located as anywhere, Hawaii, Tokyo, Argentina, it doesn't matter. Find the best person based on the skills, not the location.
Really useful piece of actionable advice. Thank you from Deel, Dan Westgarth.
Thank you. Thank you.